Well, hello and welcome to the Footy Interchange. This is the podcast where we get right around the country and chat with all of our experts right around Australia about everything going on in the AFL and the AFLW, of course, which kicks off this weekend too. It's great to have your company. Lots to get stuck into today. Adam Papalia with you alongside Will Schofield. And Scoey, big show. Only a couple of weeks to go before the end of the season. But Snoop Dogg officially confirmed today. I knew that would be top of your agenda list on what is most relevant to you in the footy.
So, hello, Paps. Good to be with you. So, I thought this was I thought he got, it wasn't happening.
Yeah, I thought it was Foo Fighters first. They were all saying was coming,
Right.
and then Snoop Dogg's been.
Are people happy about this? I'm happy with Snoop Dogg.
I don't know if they are. I was listening to Talkback Radio today, but I think the demo there probably a little bit skewed.
Drop it like it's hot.
In terms of they weren't too happy with it. But I'd love to hear from the listeners in the comments. Snoop, yes or no? I will say it's not my cup of tea, but I'm not really a big music person.
Mate, like Katy Perry,
anyway.
It's not my cup of tea, and she was great.
No. But are you happy with it?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I don't really care. No one likes the same type of music.
Correct.
Like Robbie Williams is probably good because it's not like, rock and roll. He's poppy-ish. He's, most people like Robbie Williams. But anyone else, you can have people that hate it. You're going to have people that love it. I think it's great. I just like the fact that he's a massive artist.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg's a massive artist.
It's going to get eyeballs from overseas.
He's played at the Super Bowl.
There'll be a clip will pop up on ESPN possibly and all that in the States, which is what the AFL want. They want to get some more eyes on our big game. I think it's great, having someone a bit different, obviously someone of that sort of fame level. Yeah. I think it'll add to the day, whether you like his music or not.
Yeah. No, I don't think people are tuning in to listen to the music. It's not a concert.
I think some people do.
No, they're not, mate.
Because if that wasn't the case, then why are we having it?
For exactly what you just spoke about, for recognition, for a bit of entertainment. People are there for the footy. Who want to watch the game.
I think there'll be some people that tune in
interested.
Just because they like Snoop Dogg and they hate footy.
Put it on Spotify. If you want to listen to Snoop Dogg or anyone else, you can just listen to it on Spotify. You're not, it'll be entertaining. He's one of the biggest artists in the world. He'll be just fine.
Will it work during the daytime?
Of course it will.
That's the
and we know he's not going to be the worst of all time.
No.
Meatloaf is. Has he passed away now, Meatloaf?
He has. Yes.
Okay, rest in peace. But goodness, I reckon that almost sent me to the grave. That performance. Oh, you can't say that.
You can't say that, Scully. You can't say that about the great man. I'm actually a big Meatloaf fan.
Oh, did you enjoy that?
I did actually.
You enjoyed that performance.
I didn't say it was good. I said it was enjoyable because we all talked about it and we still talk about it. It's memorable. It's infamous. And that's kind of what you want. You want Angry Anderson in the Batmobile. You want Meatloaf. The misses are almost the funnier thing.
If Snoop Dogg is in a Batmobile going around, that would be incredible. Imagine if he did that. People would love that because it's like a bit of a throwback.
Different. Do you think?
I'll get in touch.
Do you think it would be better in a twilight slot, the grand final, for the entertainment side of it?
No, because I don't think anyone's there for the entertainment. I look, it's an added thing, and it's meant to create hype, and it's meant to get you and I talking about it.
Yep.
It's not there for a Snoop Dogg concert. People aren't buying a ticket. They don't need to sell the game out.
It's not about people going to the game. It's about people watching at home and potentially getting them to tune in.
Great.
Would the spectacle be better if it was at halftime of a twilight game?
No. And I can guarantee you, if the point is to get people to tune in, people are tuning in to Snoop Dogg, whether you like him or not. You're gonna say, I'm gonna see what this is about. I hate this music. I'm gonna see what That's gonna get people to. That's eyeballs.
What's your favourite grand final entertainment of all time?
You're gonna say what's my favourite Snoop Dogg song?
I couldn't name you one, probably.
I was trying to figure out who was 2018's.
I can tell you, it was Jimmy Barnes and the Black Eyed Peas.
Black Eyed Peas were there.
Yeah. Obviously, you weren't concentrating on that before.
I was a little bit busy.
Start of the game.
I was a bit busy. Okay. Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah.
Yeah, because 2015 I butchered it, and most of our team did. We're all out in the ground watching the sprint, the heats, and I reckon them watching them getting prepared. I didn't go out in the ground before the grand final.
Chris Isaac performed in 2015.
Chris Isaac?
Yep.
Give me a song of his.
Wicked Game.
Yeah, okay. A wicked thing to... Yeah, nice.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I sound like Meatloaf then.
yeah. My little Chris Isaac story. Bumped into him at the Mustang Bar in Northbridge. He was in Perth.
Oh.
And he came to watch a band, and I'm very rarely at the Mustang Bar in Northbridge. This is a long time ago. And Chris Isaac just walked into the bar and stood next to everyone, just had a beer and watched the band.
Did anyone know who?
Yeah, we all went up and had photos and stuff.
Oh,
Very,
my
very,
God.
everyone played it cool.
Shout out Mustang Bar.
Yeah, Chris
if you're, not
Isaac.
if you're not from WA, like, I don't know how to
What would
describe
the
it.
Mustang Bar compare to?
Just a place like sticky wooden floorboards,
Yeah.
and lots of like middle-aged people
Yeah.
hanging
Yeah.
around.
I haven't been there that often, but one of the times I did, Chris Isaac walked in.
That's
unbelievably.
brilliant. Love it.
Yes. I mean, for me, I'm there for the footy, and it wouldn't matter to me if there was a band on or not. As long as Mike Brady plays up there, Cassisi, that's what gets me fired up on grand final day.
I love it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to you calling. Are you calling out with 6PR?
Will be. Yes, we'll be over there.
Very good.
Looking forward to it. So,
Love it.
Always a good day. Plenty to chat through. Nat Fyfe announcing his retirement this week. Not entirely unexpected. Played a really good role off the bench as a sub last week. It leaves an incredible legacy on the game. 2-time Brownlow medalist. Really held Freo up through a big period of his career. And we kind of forget, given the injury troubles that he's had in recent years, Scully, but he would dominate games in the midfield as a contested player.
Yeah, unstoppable, basically, for about a 5-year period, I reckon, there, when he was winning Brownlows and through Freo challenging, like he was the guy. And if you watch his highlight tapes, I reckon people, because of his injury issues over the last few years, like you forget about how good he was, but he was properly good. I've got him in top 5 players to play for Western Australian teams.
Okay,
top
5.
If I combine them,
Yep.
West Coast and Fremantle, I have him in top 5, not top 3. He's
Not
5.
top 3.
He's 5.
He's at 5.
Yeah.
Dual Brownlow medalist.
Yeah, there's been some good players here.
You going to throw the top 5 at me then?
Well, if I give Fife at 5,
Yep.
I've got my top 3. 4 would be one of, and you could go either way here. I'm going to go with Djakovic, but Judd could also be there. But I think because he left to Carlton, he kind of only got us. If he had his whole career here, it'd be in the top 3. So I go Djakovic.
He'll be happy with that.
3, I'm sure he's listening. 3, Dean Cox revolutionised a position, and 6-time All-Australian, and
In every position across the ground.
changed the way that a position was played. Number 2, Ben Cousins, most best and fairest at West Coast alongside Jacko, a 6-time All-Australian, Brownlow medalist, and I think he's the best West Coast Eagle. And Matthew Pavlich at number 1, 8-time All-Australian, 6-time best and fairest winner, captained the club for 8 years, 8-time leading goal kicker, like just did everything. He's number 1 by a fair way. Like I've got Daylight second, and then in the rest. Pav by a long way.
I reckon there's probably a few Eagles fans saying, where's Peter Matera in that list? Because he often gets thrown up as the greatest Eagle ever.
Well, how many best and fairest do you win?
I have to go back and check.
I'll get it for you. Peter Matera, he was 2-time premiership player, 5-time All-Australian,
Nice.
1-time best and fairest.
Yep.
Well, that rules him out, unfortunately.
Just because one best and
Well, he
fairest.
wasn't even the best player in his. Like Djakovic was 4-time,
Yep.
so was Cuzzy.
Okay.
So you can't have him. You can't have him in front of those guys. It's not possible.
Well, yeah.
Well, 4 times they were the best player at the club.
I would
and,
love to
and,
hear.
And Peter Matera was with Jacko.
I would
So
love to hear from the listeners in the comments about this one, well and truly. And
good player.
Nat Fyfe and Pavlich, and whether there's something that Nat Fyfe's legacy is bigger than Matthew Pavlich's as the greatest Docker of all time. We'll continue to discuss this as we roll through. Plenty to chat through on the show today, Scoey. I like the way you've kicked it off. Give us your greatest grand final entertainment of all time, whether you're going to enjoy Snoop Dogg or not as well. I don't think we can play any Snoop Dogg on the show, can we?
Snoop.
Is Scoey.
No.
What a start to the Footy Interchange. The Footy Interchange as we head to Queensland and check in with Tom Rockliff, 200 gamer in the AFL. Rockliff Finance for all your finance needs. And we might find him in a remote location today as we check in around the Sunshine State. Hello to you, Tom Rockliff.
Where are you?
Good afternoon. Up in Noosa, actually. So, yeah, just up here, maybe wine and dine some clients, maybe find myself a date, Scully, and away we go.
Yeah, good. My brother lived in Noosa for about 6 years, and you turned on. I was like, you're in Noosa. I know the car park you're in.
It's a beautiful spot. So, yeah, just out seeing a couple of dealers and clients up here. And, yeah, beautiful, beautiful place on earth up here in Noosa.
What a place for a business trip. All right. And we appreciate you, given you are in paradise up there, still chatting to us, Tommy. And the Brisbane Lions, 1 week they're up, 1 week they're down. Are we concerned? Where are you feeling? Is it injuries that have finally tipped them over the edge?
Maybe, potentially. I mean, they've been up and down all year, and even in that game on the weekend against Sydney, they're behind for large chunks of it, and then they kick 3 goals in the last minute of the game and get it back to 2 points. So it just shows the weapons they've got when they're up and about. But unfortunately, it feels like potentially injuries may have got them on the weekend, which could cost them a top 4 spot. They could have sort of almost sealed that away with a couple of games to go, but now they've got the road trip over there to Fremantle, and then they take on the Hawks in the last game as well. So a tough couple of weeks coming up for them, but you take out Payne, Starcevic, Lester and Ainsworth from any defence. That's 4 starting defenders, really. It makes it difficult. And then you take out the Brownlow medalist and champion Lachie Neale as well. It's going to be difficult for anyone to win if you take out the starting 4 of your back 6 or 7 and your best midfielder. It's going to be difficult. So they may have got found out a little bit. Injuries starting to mount somewhat, but I think they should be all back in time for finals. But they may have to do it the hard way again and come from outside the top 4.
I tuned into your work on Triple M over the weekend, mate, and I listened to probably the last 10 minutes of the game. I think it's one of the greatest ever radio performances I may have ever heard. You blokes were 20 points down with, I reckon, 2 minutes to go, and you blokes are going, I reckon they're going to find a way to come out. And they literally, I was like, shut up, boys. They're going to kick 4 goals in 2 minutes, and they almost did it. I couldn't believe it.
It was incredible. I mean, that's what they can do, though. They kick those 3 goals, and then if Ashcroft just nails it, they potentially give themselves 10 seconds to go. And then Sydney are really, really twitching, but they only had 4 seconds left, so couldn't get there. But, yeah, incredible finish.
We got the Dockers Lions match up over here Friday night. I think it's the game of the weekend. Huge repercussions for either side. Do you give them a chance travelling west to beat Freo?
Give them every chance. These are the games that they've got up for all year. We speak about, that they're up and down. But these big games are the ones that they perform in. And I don't know whether they'll make the selection call, but again, Charlie Cameron, he's been so quiet all year, and he just needs to go out there and play on instincts and chase the footy. So whether they make a big call, I don't think they will. I do give them a chance going over there. I wasn't sold on Fremantle, their performance against Port Adelaide. So it should be a ripping contest. I mean, Eastern Seaboard, it finishes at midnight, which is a bit of a concern. I probably won't see the finish of it, but no, it should be a ripper.
The Suns, as we switch our attention to them taking on the Giants, that's a critical game in terms of shaping the top 8. So for the Suns, obviously they can finish top 4 or even top 2 if they just keep winning their games, given they've got that one in hand.
Yeah, they certainly can. They're potentially sitting 3rd on the ladder right now. You give them the win against Essendon. Their percentage is as good as anyone that are equal on those points. So they should be sitting 3rd on the ladder and potentially lock up a top 2 spot. A massive challenge against the Giants this weekend, who weren't that impressive last weekend, but either with the Suns were outstanding in that 3rd quarter, put the game to bed, and then all of a sudden, first 10 minutes of the last quarter, they didn't come out, and they got back to 3 kicks really, really quickly. So would be concerning for Damien Hardwick and his assistant coaches, but they're a different beast on their home deck, and they've been in really, really good form. So I'd imagine they win this game. Then they got a road trip down for Travis Boak's last game, and Ken Hinkley's against Port Adelaide. So that's another great challenge. That'll be a finals-like atmosphere for them. So it's a good prep for them heading towards finals, but they've got to get the job done at, the curtain opener on Saturday afternoon.
We can't be too far away from all Australian selection being named. I think that's relatively close to the end of the year. You got a smoky for us?
Yeah, I think Long's a massive chance. Ben Long, his ability to hit the scoreboard. So he's averaging 2 goals a game. I think he's up to about 6 score involvements. per game, but you think of him more as a pressure forward. So depending how they pick it, we know that there's a lot of key forwards that end up in there, and potentially a ruckman maybe slide into a forward pocket or something like that. But he's a genuine good overhead mark. He's had an outstanding year defensively. He's 1%ers through. I think they're ranked elite in the competition as well. So the thing that will hurt him, which normally happens, is there is no Queensland selector on the panel. So all other states are covered, and unfortunately Queensland's still not covered. But I think if they've seen enough of the Gold Coast Suns and Brisbane Lions this year, Long has to be in the calculation. He definitely has to make the squad. Whether he can make the team or not is another question. But I think he should be right in the conversation for a forward pocket.
I hadn't noticed that there's no Queensland representative. That has to change.
Well, the CEO of Sydney will be off the selection committee very soon. Matt Pavlich. I don't know if that happens before or after, because
that's interesting.
That's a very interesting call, isn't it? That's how many
Sydney
players. Suddenly, there's 8 Sydney players on the bloody.
I think they have to make a change. It needs someone on the ground. You've got Jonathan Brown here a lot. Alistair Lynch obviously can't do it with his connections to Tasmania. Simon Black sees a lot of footy as well. So I think there's enough calibre of selectors here if they wanted it, but they should have all states represented, in my opinion.
Would you enjoy a couple of trips to Melbourne a year just to sit in on those panel meetings?
Man, if I have to, I'm more than willing to throw my hand up. I think I'm in a bit of strife, though, because I clip the AFL every second week on F, so might be a bit of strife.
Might be tough one to get on
the line. Just wait, mate. I'm going to take over as CEO of the AFL shortly, so once I do that, I'll appoint you as the All-Australian head of selection.
Bang, we're away to go. Look at us go.
Perfect.
All right, mate. You go and enjoy Noosa. Thanks so much.
Good on you, gents.
Tom Rockliff there with the latest out of Queensland. And, yeah, I can't believe that they don't have an All-Australian selection, All-Australian selector there out of Queensland. That certainly is something that needs to change in the future. Well, the Footy Interchange as we head to Victoria, and a little bit of a sad but happy part of this show, because this is Drew Jones' last time that he's going to join us.
We sacked him.
No, we haven't sacked him. No, he's got more important things to take care of as he's about to go on paternity leave. He joins us right now from the comforts of home with a bright shirt on, ready to go, looking comfortable, and a baby expected any day now. Drew, congratulations, mate, and good luck.
Yes, hello, gents. 2044 draft, that's the plan for young baby Jones. And yeah, so I guess there's some symmetry here, because I reckon the first episode we did, I was doing some home renovations in the build up to eventually being in the nursery, which we've got set up here. So if you're watching on YouTube,
look at this.
Nice.
So yeah, this will be the comfy feeding chair, which has got some reclinability. But yeah, very excited. Due on Sunday. I'll be at Marvel Stadium, of course, watching West Coast. So whether I make the berth remains to be seen.
Now, do you know if you're having a boy or a girl?
Yeah, boy.
A boy. Oh, so clearly, as an Eagles supporter, you're naming it Rowan.
Hey, I was thinking Juddy Jones.
I reckon Will's a good name.
Very nice, very nice. Well, we wish you and the family all the best, mate. A very exciting time in your life. So thank you very much for joining us and being part of this show all the way through the season as well. Your replacement will be named in due course. But let's get stuck into it. The Demons, so much going on around them. A few former senior coaches pulling out of the race, it seems, of becoming their next coach. Is it all about Nathan Buckley now?
Yeah, he's certainly firming as the future Melbourne coach. And I just thought I wanted to take you guys behind the curtain a little bit. So this is quite interesting. David Zeta and I had a day at work a couple of weeks ago. I named it as one of the toughest days of work in my time at Fox Sports News, where every possible technological issue went wrong. Like, to get the show to air was such a massive challenge for us. And it just so happened that someone called Zeets, someone who he works closely with, to say, I've heard a rumour that Nathan Buckley has been offered the Melbourne coaching job. And this was before Simon Goodwin had been let go. And of course, for every single rumour that you hear, every story, you're always trying to check it 2, 3, 4, 5 different ways. And because we have such close ties to Nathan at Fox Footy, you have to be very careful about these sort of stories. So between the two of us, we were trying to double check this story and, triple check whatever. And in the end, there was a lot of denials. And we felt we were, safe enough to put that story to bed. And then it was reported last night that, in fact, he possibly had been approached about the job. And then, of course, Simon Lewis lost his role the next week. And this is how it all plays out. So where there's smoke, there's fire is probably the lesson here. But nothing's confirmed, but it looks like he is the favourite if Nathan decides he wants to get back into coaching.
So if there's smoke, there's fire. St Kilda feels like it's a 24-hour a day smoking house. Like it feels like it's billowing out the windows. Like what is going on at St Kilda?
Yeah, I wanted to sort of go through this to try and separate, what's real and what's noise in terms of, say, like a Callum Wilkie rumour about whether he's unhappy at the club. That to me is, he ends up getting probably an improved contract with Lecalia coming to the football club. They just, the money gets sorted out there, the hierarchy gets done. Same with Marcus Windhager, who I know they rate really highly. They think he can be, a genuine inside midfield sort of hybrid, tough, but also good with ball in hand. He probably ends up, on increased terms. It's looking more likely that Jack Steele probably exits the football club. I've been talking about that for a couple of weeks. And then the big wild card here is Nasiah Wanganeen-Miller. We still don't know what he's going to do. St Kilda have probably got a couple of different salary cap scenarios where he does go and he does stay and what they can do. Of course, Tom de Koning. I read this week that he'd been overheard at a bar talking about that maybe he'd been offered even more than 1.7 mil a year. So who knows where that's going with TDK. And then, the Godfather offer supposedly that has been, made or will be made to Harley, 25 mil over 12 years. St Kilda haven't been afraid to throw big money at various players over the years. So wouldn't surprise me if that was true. But yeah, so much to play out for the Saints, but ultimately I think it does hinge on what Naz does.
Yeah, watch this space around the Saints. At Carlton, they've started to make some changes. The news around Brad Lloyd today.
Yeah, so Graham Wright officially starts on Friday, but spoke to the media today, and that was because that news had got out that Brad Lloyd was ending his time at the footy club. This probably wasn't a major surprise. And then a lot of questions for Graham today about some key players who have been linked away from the footy club. Again, find it hard to believe that they would let Charlie Curnow go, but I think there's some merit to potentially Harry Mackay ending up elsewhere. The Swans feels like a good landing spot for him. And then whatever shakes out with Sam Walsh, it has been reported that Walsh is a little unhappy. I think the Geelong links sort of make sense from where he grew up. But, we haven't quite seen him, even scratch the surface of the potential that he has. So let's see how that all plays out. But I just wanted to throw this one at you, gents. So last night, Sam McClure reported that Carlton had approached various different potential suitors for the head coaching role outside of Michael Voss. And one of those coaches was someone who was currently in charge of another AFL team. I just wanted to throw it to you guys. I have a theory on who it might be. Do you guys have a theory or a prediction or what coach that may have been?
Well, I mean, could it have been one that's no longer coaching next year? Like, could it be Goodwin or Hinkley?
That would have been the thought, Hinkley, perhaps.
Yeah, so I think the wording from Sam may have been that they were coaching in 2026.
Right.
So it may not have been Hinkley. I'll throw this out at you.
What's the theory?
Chris Fagan. So Chris Fagan, family in Victoria, links to Graham Wright clearly from a long time together at Hawthorn. Feels like if they're going for someone to take control of the footy club, who's been there, done that, seen everything in football, it would allow Fags to get back, closer to family. Perhaps that Lions journey has sort of started to reach its peak and someone else comes in. Just a thought, just a theory. Ultimately, it's an opinion, it's not fact, and ultimately it doesn't matter because he's turned it down. But just an interesting one on perhaps the lengths that Graham Wright has gone to find the right man to take the Blues forward.
Very interesting. Drew, Goat Fantasy, I will just give you the little heads up that once you do start having a family, generally your fantasy football team start to take a bit of a dip. It's just, it can happen. So how are you prepared to deal with this at the crucial time of the year with the GOAT fantasy side of things?
Yeah, you've timed that poorly.
That is a major concern for me because my performance has already started to dip considerably. So, if it's going to go off a cliff, that's a concern for me. So, Brodie Grundy is out this week. Just about everyone would have him in fantasy. So, I think this is a really easy one. Roll Marshall plays against Essendon, Friday night football. You know, Todd Goldstein, one of the great modern day ruckmen, but he's not able to stop the other ruck from scoring and getting possessions around the ground. Only 2 weeks ago, Brodie Grundy got 39 disposals and 150 fantasy points. So I'm saying get Roll Marshall into your team. You can VC him on Friday night into, a Marcus Bontempelli or a Jordan Dawson, whatever you want to do as the weekend unfolds. But I feel like Roll Marshall is the man to have this week.
Yeah, that's disappointing because I already have Ryan Marshall. I'm looking at Tim English against the West Coast Eagles in a prelim final.
Yep, like it a lot. Timmy's the man to go.
Well done, mate.
Thank you, mate. Good luck with young Rowan, William, Adam, Judd, Interchange, Jones.
You guys will be the first to know. I'll put it on the Interchange WhatsApp when we're on our way to the hospital.
Good luck with it, mate. Thanks for your work this year.
Boys.
Drew Jones there from Victoria. We certainly wish him and the family all the best. Well, let's head to South Australia now and check in with Dom Cassisi, of course, Port Adelaide legend who joins us right now. We knew he was sick last week. We thought he might have just been a little bit sick of seeing the Crows continuing to win and continuing to win the showdown. But he's back with us this week. He's back in South Australia too. Welcome to you, Dom.
Good to be back, boys. Good to be back.
Good to chat to you. And your former side almost got it done against the Dockers on the weekend. That was a pretty thrilling game. It
was a great game. Sort of going there, sort of didn't know what to expect. Port Adelaide coming off some belting, so the Triple M crew, before the game, we'll get into the producer to load up some stuff in case it was a bit of a flogging, so we could talk about something during the game. But it ended up being a blockbuster in the end, and it looked like Port handled it a little bit differently leading into it.
So what do they do differently, do you think?
Well, I reckon they just went more role players with their young guys, and as you know, Scully, So I'll give you an example. So McEntee, you can tell that he was told, mate, just defensive role on Clark, don't let him run, take him out of the play because obviously he's so damaging with his run off half back. And he went and did that job really well. Ollie Lord for Port Adelaide plays forward. They swung him back and you can see that his job was, hey, mates, you're on Voss. That's your job tonight. And for the better part of the night, he kept him pretty quiet. And then you got Josh Sin, who, his job was, mate, you're on Bolton. Nullify his damage. And so I thought they did that well because to give young guys a really laser-focused task that they can just go and execute, takes the pressure of them having to get 20 touches. And I thought that worked really well for Port. It looked like they had good direction. It looked like they knew what their roles were. And they came and executed it pretty well for most of the game.
Yeah, so I wonder if that's more of a Josh Carr influence as we get closer and closer to the end of the season, as Ken probably puts his feet up at the back of the box and says, your team now. Saw the jumper swap with Trav and Fyfe. So Fyfe, big news over here in the West that he's retired, but haven't spoken to you since Travis spoke, has announced some reflections on his career as he goes on the farewell tour.
Yeah, look, it's been unbelievable. To see him walk in day one from Torquay with his rusty boardies, the long ones back then. I didn't know if they were long shorts or short pants, but but he came in then, and then 2012 that's when Geelong flew over, and it's been well documented to try and pinch him back to Geelong. And players these days get a trade if they're playing out of position or a little bit homesick. There was no reason for him to stay. We had no money. I remember waking up once, I was captain at the time, and the back page of the paper was Port players are not going to get paid this week. So, that's hard to imagine. That's only 15 years ago. So, we had no money. We had tarps on the seats. We're getting 10,000 people to Footy Park. No one was coming to our games. We had no money. We had no coach. Matty Primus had been given the sack. If he had left, it would have been, mate, no problems at all. Off you go, because there's nothing here to stay for. And I remember the conversation I had with him when Geelong flew over, and we had the conversation. I just said, mate, I can't polish a turd. There's nothing here for you other than The only thing I can sell you, mate, is you're the next captain. Imagine taking a club from where it is now, which is as low as it gets, to the Holy Grail. I said there'll be no better feeling in footy. Um, Now he didn't quite get there, but geez, he gave it a crack. Prelims, super lord of the club. All the stuff he does away from footy, kids can childhood cancer. He goes to the hospital on his day off. Just a super role model. And then, as you know, like he probably revolutionised the way footballers train in the off season. Going to the States and with Red Bull and taking some of the young guys with him, like Rosie and Horn Francis and these guys, like that becomes a generational change. So I know I've dragged on a bit, but you got to give respect where it's due, and he's been unbelievable for the club and for the AFL in general.
Yeah, it certainly looked like Ken Hinkley used that a bit pre-game too with the retirement announcement just to give them a little bit of a lift into that last game, and they'll be hoping to get at least one more win before the end of the year.
Yeah, well, now it's the Bokey and Kenny farewell tour, isn't it? Bokey's jumped on the bandwagon with him, yeah, look, it's going to be a big few weeks for the club. There's plenty to play for because both have been great for the club, and and then this time of year, players are playing for their careers as well. So, and that's not just Port Adelaide, but that's everyone in general this time of year. So it's interesting because 6 weeks out from the season finishing, it seems like it's a long way away when you're not playing finals. And then I reckon what you saw on the weekend is like the teams that aren't playing finals, they all pepped up a bit because it's like there's only 2 weeks to go, only one more home game in front of our crowd, and that's why I reckon we saw such a good brand of footy across pretty much all games, no matter where they were in the ladder on the weekend.
It feels like we've got an upset brewing. I don't know. I can't pinpoint exactly where it is, but we're going to see over the next, how many games we got left? 18, 19 with the extra add-on. Like we're going to see an upset. Don't know exactly where, but Adelaide were very near the recipients of one of the greatest upsets of all time. Like it would have been all time. So how do you see that? Is it just win and move on, or is there any scars left there? I'm sure probably not, but what do you think?
Well, look, an ugly win is a good win sometimes. Freo's was an ugly win. Crows was an ugly win, but they found a way to get over the line in the end. But like with the Crows, I mean, they're doing so much well, but and everyone in Adelaide over here, it's like, the lid's off. The lid's off, Crows. They're going all the way. And I'm like, well, just keep the lid on for a little bit because, like, this game against Collingwood this weekend, for me, is pretty much their true test for the year because it's high stakes. This is high stakes now for them because if they win, they're a lock for top 2, which is 2 home finals. If they lose, well, then they might not finish top 2, and you're potentially wasting a gem of a season by not getting the top 2, finishing 2 finals at home. So, like, this is the one for me where I'm going to watch closely against the Pies because a lot of their players haven't been in these situations where it's not just a home and away. It's final starts now. The pressure's on. There's a lot at stake, and how are they going to perform in that? So that's this week. I can't wait for this game, Crows versus the Pies this weekend.
It's going to be massive Saturday night footy at the Adelaide Oval. Dom, thanks so much for joining us, mate. I really appreciate your insights into Travis Boak. We'll chat again next week.
Cheers, boys. Thank you.
Dom Cassisi there joining us on the Footy Interchange. The Footy Interchange as we look at all the news in Western Australia, of course, Scully, thanks to Heyscape and the off-grid sustainability conscious cabins with premium interiors, which I hope everybody's been checking out online.
Yeah, that winter code's still available, I think, so $150 off your stay. The weather, although on Saturdays, for whatever reason, has been like lightning and hail, pretty much every other day at the moment is beautiful blue skies and beautiful weather. So I'd just be getting involved from that side of things.
I actually reckon sometimes it's better when it's wet like that. And if you're just cozying in, little cabin, rain coming down outside.
I mean, not if it was just you and me together.
Listening to the Footy Interchange.
Yeah.
No, not you and me. I'll take my wife. You can get a separate cabin.
Yeah, good point.
At least 3 towns over.
Yeah, okay. I like that. So heyscape.com.au if you don't want to stay with your mate and your partner.
All right, let's get into it. Eliza Reilly is with us from Code Sports with all the latest news out of Western Australia. And Eliza, all the chat clearly over the last couple of days. The Eagles almost with a big upset win over the Crows, but Alex Pearce's mark has been on replay from many Freo fans.
Yeah, absolutely. How good a moment of that was that in the scheme of the season so far. And it feels like Fremantle as a team are growing up before our eyes a little bit. We know that last year and the years before, they had a horrific record in close games, sort of decided by less than 2 goals around that mark. And then this year, they've completely flipped that on its head. They're, putting up scores and coming from behind at 3/4 time, which has been something they've been really shaky at in the past. So it just feels like this Fremantle team is maturing, growing. Alex Pearce returns and, shuts up all the doubters that say he shouldn't be captain at that football club, with a mark reminiscent of JL some few years back now. So it's bizarre to think that Fremantle still have not locked in their final spot because they're not doing it convincingly, but they are one of the most solid teams in the competition at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with that. They lose a champion at the end of this year. Another one with Sonny Walters announcing his retirement earlier this year. Nat Fyfe retired at the start of this week. This will be his last year. Your thoughts on that and how to use him going forward for the season?
Yeah, well, if he's not going to be taking up a stay at Heyscapes when he has a bit more time off his hand at the end of the season, I think that Fremantle have their new super sub for the rest of the year. We know that Nat Fyfe's body isn't equipped to handle full games of AFL for weeks on end anymore. He said that quite clearly himself in his speech to his teammates yesterday. He said the past 5 years has been really hard on him and he's had to adjust and learn how to sort of function in a body that's not capable of what it once was. So I think the super sub, we saw him on the weekend come on and have an impact in the final quarter against Port. It's something we've seen several times throughout the year already. And I just think if you want to have someone sitting in that vest on the sidelines, why not have a 2-time Brownlow medalist? He's someone who's experienced. He makes Fremantle better when he comes onto the field. And it's a matter of keeping him fit and giving him that opportunity to win a flag and cap off what is one of the best resumes in football.
I agree with that. I just lock him away. Stop trying to bring him to play a full game. You're spot on. Great thoughts there. What about West Coast Eagles, Eliza? Ruben Jimby, one of my favourites, the boy. He keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, the boy was on fire on the weekend, wasn't he? Playing on Reilly Thorpe, who we know is one of the most towering spearheads in the competition. And it's quite an ask, given that there was no Harry Edwards in the team either due to that foot injury. But Ruben rose to the challenge, as he's done all year. He's gone from someone who you'd think maybe, midway through last year, where you're a bit unsure about where he's actually going to fit in this West Coast team and if he's going to make a genuine fist of his career, given he was sort of drafted as a midfielder and then has now gone back to go forward, essentially, in his career. But he's really transformed himself into a reliable key defender who can also have an impact with his rebound, which is sort of the role he played a little bit at the start of his draft year before they transformed him into that midfielder, which we thought he was going to be at AFL level. So he's stuck it up to the under 22 selectors, who obviously snubbed him from that squad late last week. And I actually spoke to Ruben post-game and I said, were you aware of that? And he goes, yeah, I'm very aware that I was not picked in that team. But he sort of said that he's just focused on improving his football and he's still got another couple of years to try and crack into that squad and prove everyone wrong. But Andrew McQualsh is very strong on that post-game as well and said if he's not in that squad, then the people picking it aren't watching enough football.
Sco, do you reckon he's winning their best and fairest?
Be pretty close to it, yeah, just given his consistency. It's definitely about being the best player, but you just got to do it almost every game. That's how you win best and fairest, and I think he's pretty close to it. So be nice to see a backman win a best and fairest again at West Coast Eagles.
Eliza, before we let you go, AFLW starts this week and some venue dramas already in the first week with Leederville Oval. I can't believe this. They've poured a lot of money into that over the last couple of years with trying to get the turf right. So swimming pool again on the weekend, and they've moved the AFLW clash on Thursday from there to Mineral Resources Park.
Yeah, they've poured millions of dollars into it to not only upgrade the entire playing surface, but also the lighting to make sure it's AFL standard and broadcast quality so that we can actually play AFLW games at this venue. And there is a long-term sort of vision that it could become the home of AFLW as sort of a boutique, sort of 20,000 capacity stadium, given that community venues have sort of been a bit of a bugbear for AFLW players, given the lack of quality and facilities available. But it shot itself in the foot with the way it's handled the wet weather yet again. Unfortunately, there was 3 games there on the weekend, 3 waffle games back to back, absolutely tore up the surface to the point where by the league game in the afternoon, you couldn't actually see the centre circle anymore. It was a complete mud pit and the umpire was just throwing it up wherever he saw fit at the start of quarters. So it's a bit of a disgrace, really, unfortunately, that we're seeing this issue again with this venue. Luckily, MRP is in great nick, given that the West Coast Eagles do obviously have their headquarters there and take good care of it. But player safety is paramount, and the AFL were there doing turf replacements and testing the ground yesterday, and they just said, you know what, this is not safe for the players. So apparently it's safe for waffle players, but not for AFLW and professionals.
Yeah, fair enough. Hey, before we let you go, Eliza, I did some far too early predictions for the AFLW season, giving it starting this week without notice. Do you like anyone for the premiership? And maybe even an AFLW best and fairest. I've done a bit of them. I have my selection sitting in front of me, but you got who you like this year?
Funny you ask. I've submitted them today for our AFLW lift down in News Corp papers across the country. I have locked in North Melbourne to be the first back-to-back premier in the AFL. It's ridiculous. They've gotten even better in the off-season with the recruitment of Eilidh Sheeran. Their squad is at a peak already, and they've just gone to another level, adding an all-Australian midfielder into that mix. So I can't see them going backwards, and I'd be shocked if they dropped any more games this year. That's how well they're tracking, and I think they're going to be a massive threat yet again this season. And for AFLW best and fairest, it should be Jasmine Garner, but she continually gets snubbed by the umpires to the point where there's Bronx cheers every AW Awards when she finally picks up votes. But I've actually locked in her teammate, Ash Riddell, who finished runner-up in the award last year, sort of changed her role a little bit, had a way more impact on the outside and was sort of a run and carry player for North Melbourne in that undefeated season. Racks up plenty of touches. She's prolific, and I think she's going to climb up to the top of the mountain this year.
I've gone with a bit of a West Australian slant on it. I've got Brisbane winning the flag. Got some connections there. I'd like to see them win it with Taylor Smith being leading goal kicker. I think she can have a big year. Ella Roberts as my smoky for the best and fairest, just because, again, I'd like a West Australian team to do that. And I also have West Coast and Freo 7th and 8th on the ladder, sneaking their way in after a couple of big improving seasons this year.
I like it. Ella Roberts is coming off a bit of an interrupted pre-season with the back concern, but watching her against the Western Bulldogs in that practice match, she wouldn't have known it. So she's going to be right up in the pecking order yet again.
Great stuff. Eliza, I know you'll be there for 6PR on Thursday night, part of the radio coverage there and right across it too. Always appreciate your time here.
Thanks, guys.
Eliza Reilly there, great part of the Footy Interchange. Scully, before we finish off on WA, I did want to mention there's so much spoken about Alex Pearce's heroics towards the end of that game, and we were calling the match, which was it was a really fun broadcast, and it was obviously went right down to the wire. But Alex Pearce takes the mark. That's what gets all the headlines. I just wanted to maybe, I don't know if it's been highlighted enough. Caleb Sarong, I think some of the efforts he did late on in that game really helped Fremantle get over the line. He's copped a fair bit of criticism this year for being taggable, is that what everyone is saying, and almost writing him off because if you put someone to him, he can't impact.
What did you say? What moments?
I don't think that's the case. There was a couple. He took a couple of contested marks, which he's not known for, but he was the one that got the footy into Alex Pearce, first of all. So
he kicked it?
Wins the footy back. He kicks it into Alex Pearce.
Oh, yeah.
So tees it up, and Alex Pearce has spoken about how they sort of made eye contact and he could see him drifting down there and was trying to tell him to tee it up and go from there.
Yes.
So Alex Pearce kicks the goal. There's then a free kick given away in the middle of the ground.
Not how you draw it up.
Not how you draw it up.
30 seconds left.
I think they're having fives of Melbourne against St Kilda.
Yes.
So Port Adelaide get the free kick out of the middle. and it immediately goes inside 50. And Connor Rosie, who's just kicked a goal for Port to put them in front before that, in that quarter.
And then was on Pierce.
And then was up to take the mark.
Yes.
And Caleb Strong's bolted out of the middle and gone down to line up on Connor Rosie. And I think he's the one that's actually spoilt the ball away and stopped Connor Rosie from actually taking the mark, which then would have put Port Adelaide back in front. And then there's a bit of a scramble and he gets pinned and he holds it in. And
well, the one you're talking about, I remember this. He stands up instead of jumping on the footy and being done holding the ball. We saw Collingwood do sort of the cowboy they were calling it, I think, or the rodeo or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, stand up and
Just
put
let
your
him
hands
go.
up. He stood up. He got the ball, stood up, and was tackled. So it wasn't holding the ball. So I agree with you, mate. I think those little things don't get mentioned enough. You know, like you look at the end result and Pierce kicks the goal and it's amazing. And of course, he's a backman, but yeah, that's why he's a leader. He's a vice captain of the football club. So those little things, tracking him from that centre bounce, he had to work his ass off to not have Rosie, who would have been thinking about the contest before, because he was the man who let Alex Pierce fly. He would have been thinking about that and go, I owe the boys one. And big contests everywhere.
And I just think for Sarong to get back defensively the way he did was, good leadership. And he has copped a bit of criticism at times this year, but I thought he was really influential, particularly late on in that game. That is all of our WA analysis and insight. Thanks to Eliza again. Thanks to Heyscape, of course. They've got cabins set on spectacular locations in nature, on vineyards and working farms. Great for a getaway. Also got cabins which are dog friendly as well. Check them out at heyscape.com.au. Well, let's head to New South Wales and check in with Cal Sinclair, who gives us all the latest news from on the ground there in and around Sydney. And Cal, the Sydney Swans, what a win it was over Brisbane. You'd think if the season was going a couple of weeks longer, they might have a shot at it.
Mate, they're probably just a couple of games out of, I guess, wishing the season was probably 25, 26 rounds, and that'd probably be half a chance. But I'll tell you what, they're probably the most frustrating team in the competition at the moment to knock off, I guess, Brisbane in the way they did, albeit it was only a close game and Brisbane were a little bit undermanned. It was a great effort, but I'll tell you what, they definitely should be playing finals considering they can beat the teams like Brisbane at the Gabba.
They've been missing a key forward, and Drew Jones, who we have on this show, is thinking maybe Harry Mackay could be a good fit. Is that what they'll be searching for in the off-season?
Probably a few things. Like I found Kane Corn's comments interesting on Logan McDonald last week, saying that he genuinely needs to take a leap out of Reilly Thilthorpe's book. Unfortunately, I don't think he will. If I was the Swans, I'd be getting on the phone to Brodie Mychek. The Swans, provided they've got a healthy list, a serious contender for, I guess, future top four and playing in the finals next year. Brodie Mychek is not being treated that well at Collingwood. I'd say give Brodie a 2-3 year deal, get him up there to support Logan McDonald. Joel Amati can't get on the park. Trade Florent to Collingwood and get the key forward you need for a couple of years, and it might pinch you a flag.
I like that.
Like it, nice and strong. Giants, massive game against the Suns this week, as well as they continue to try to fight for spots in the top 8.
Absolutely, and I think it's going to be a real, I guess, test of where they're at going into the crucial part of the season. I think the Gold Coast Suns are in probably arguably the best form in the competition. Their midfield depth goes a lot deeper than probably what the Giants does currently at the moment. So they've definitely got the work cut out for them, particularly when they're travelling away. But if I'm going into this last kind of 6 weeks for the Giants, I'm looking at probably two guys. One is Jake Stringer. I think he needs to have the best 6 weeks of his career, and I think he is the key X factor to hopefully getting the Giants a premiership. And the other one to that is Aaron Cadman, albeit he is young, but he needs to fire in order to have a really successful final series. But Jay Stringer, to me, he kind of reminds me of the Stuart Dew of 2007, kind of how he came into that side, didn't necessarily play all year and tear it up, but I tell you what, on game day, he proved his worth.
The Giants are going to have to go close to beating Gold Coast to play finals. I mean, it's such an interesting year. You've got 3 teams on 56 points. You've got Western Bulldogs below them on 52, but they've got a better percentage than all those 3. So they're going to have to challenge Gold Coast, if not beat them, to even play finals. It's a wild year.
Exactly right. And to be honest, it would be pretty, if they don't make finals, if you're the Giants and you're the Giants list manager and you're on their board, I think you'd be really disappointed. look, all teams have injuries. They've probably been unlucky from time to time, but the reality is that list that they've got should be a top 4 team. It would be an absolute disgrace if they didn't make finals. And equally, the Western Bulldogs as well. I think their list is equally as good. And Brisbane are, I guess, they're looking potentially unlucky, maybe. So there's a couple of key teams out there that I think one of those teams is going to be quite unlucky.
Brilliant stuff, Cal. Great to chat.
No worries.
Cal Sinclair there with all the latest news out of New South Wales. A little bit of a watch on Jake Stringer, I think, over the next week or so with maybe a minor hammy. But come September, he will be a massive X factor for them.
Yeah,
I
agree. They've got a few in that case. And the way I look at the ladder now, someone on 15 wins will miss finals.
Which is just unbelievable.
Yeah. That's what's going to happen. And it's why only one side in the entire comp is guaranteed finals. It's Adelaide. Because Geelong's second right now with 15. Now, we expect Geelong to win both of their last games. They play Sydney and Richmond. Sydney will be a challenge this weekend. But we do expect them to win at least one. So we'd say Geelong's almost guaranteed. Collingwood, because of their form, we have a question mark on. They play Adelaide this week in Adelaide. And then they're going to play Melbourne, who look improved, but you'd have Collingwood beating them at the G. Freo's the next one. They've got 2 really difficult matchups. So they're on 15 wins. They lose both of those 2. They could miss finals given their percentage. Brisbane, they need one more win. They've won 14 games, but they've got a draw in hand. So if they can win one of their last 2, they're probably guaranteed. But they've got Freo and Hawthorn to 2 final sides. Gold Coast, we think is probably locked in given the Essendon game, I think. They've won 14 games, but they'll win one of their last 2. They have GWS and Port Adelaide. You think that Port Adelaide game's a given, and then Essendon's a given. So they're home. Hawthorn on 56 points. They play Melbourne and Brisbane, so 2 difficult games. If they beat Melbourne, they're still only going to be on 15 wins, so still a chance they lose that Brisbane game and they're out of finals. GWS, is in high amounts of danger. Gold Coast and St Kilda, so they can win one of those and still miss. And then the Western Bulldogs, who have have West Coast and Fremantle to finish off the year. You'd think they beat West Coast, but the Freo game shapes as one that could make or break their, finals contention. Given they're only on 13 wins, they lose that, they miss finals. They have to win both.
And they were so close to going down to the Ds on the weekend
Yes.
too, which would almost have shut the gate on the top 8. It's a fascinating run into the finals, and someone's going to win an awful amount of games this season and still not make it. Well, let's get stuck into the Footy Interchange injury update with Steve Gravina, former physio in the AFL from Frontrunner Physiotherapy in Osborne Park. Steve, great to chat to you again, as always, mate. And it's an interesting time of the year. Obviously, a couple of rounds to go. Teams trying to fight for final spots, but also trying to have their players ready to go if they are ready for September. How, as a physio and as a medical department, do they juggle that?
Yeah, it's really tricky right now. You're always, nursing players or trying to push for players to be available this time of the year with finals coming up. But you've got to be really careful. You don't, pull the trigger too early and run the risk of them breaking down again and you're ruling them out for the rest of your campaign. So, we've got 2 games to go. Most of these clubs have got guys that they're really sweating on to try to get right for finals. And finals comes early for all the clubs basically at the moment because each game's almost an elimination final, so the pressure's never been higher. If you think about, I guess, what's happening down at Freo and with Hayden Young, a low-grade adductor, but off the back of recurrent hamstrings, you really can't afford to be too aggressive with him. So, you can't see him play this week, but next week becomes a realistic scenario where he might be available to play. It may come down to whether they've locked in a final spot or they haven't. If they've locked in, then there'd be no really cause to play him, and you give him an extra 2 weeks essentially to really give him a good sort of 5-week rebuild to have him right for finals. But if they're faced with a sort of a quasi-elimination final against the Dogs, then you basically need to roll the dice if he's there and putting his hand up.
So would this be a situation, let's use this specifically then, in that exact situation where medical department would give your best advice and then in the end the coach makes the call? Like who actually goes, well, this is what's happening?
Yeah, so there'd be medical discussions within the high performance department. So the doctor, the physio team, the strength conditioning and sports science team will, meet regularly and map out the planned trajectory for him. And you probably need to roll through a few different scenarios based on results. But it'll get to a point where you can basically tick him off as medically available once he's signed off on all of the, return to play key markers that you would be with a player like him. Then basically it goes to match committee. So we provide a calculated risk scenario based off the player that he is, his history, what he's been able to do in this injury rebuild, and provide as much information as we can. Then, usually high performance manager and doc and coaches go in and then have a deeper discussion on the context of that player for this game and how important he is, and knowing what's at stake. The decision gets made then.
With all that in mind, Hayden Young's not playing this week. Seriously, you just couldn't risk it. You could not. You could not. I know nothing about what's wrong with him. I know nothing about the match committee at Freo. You just can't play Hayden Young, in my opinion. Yeah,
just play it safe a little bit. But they're the discussions that all the clubs are having at the moment as they push towards the finals. Steve, I always find it amazing and marvel at the bravery of the players and what they can push through. But Zach Merritt breaks his hand on the weekend. Surgery, plate inserted. Chance to only miss one game. For me, if you're having surgery, I'd be out for 6 months. But we expect these players to get back so quickly.
Yeah, it is amazing. It's horse for course, usually depending on the type of fracture, where the fracture is located in the body. So, you break one of your weight-bearing bones in your foot or your leg, you're not coming back after a week. But the hand, once you've had a little crack in a usually a metacarpal, so one of the long bones in the hand, if you put a little plate in that and stabilise it, generally it's stable and safe to put a little bit of load through it and take the forces that would be to, take a mark or handball. So you really wait for wound healing. So you open him up, put a little plate in, close it up, stitch it up. That hand will be really swollen for a 5 to 7 day period. But after that, as the swelling comes down, it becomes a pain management situation. So, they'd obviously use local anaesthetic to help with that. But the risk profile of a bigger injury or something adverse happening there would be low, and so if he can function, he can play. Now he'll be sore afterwards, and he won't be doing much midweek, and it'd be sort of repeated injections to play. But these are the things that can be done, and we've seen guys function really well with it and get through.
Just quickly over here in the West, Sam Sturt, strange one here. I think he's maybe done an ACL before, but they went in for a pretty standard arthroscope, just a bit of a clean out, and they've decided to reconstruct his ACL.
Yeah, only limited information's come out from the club, but by the sounds of it, he's obviously been struggling all year and hasn't played a game this year with recurrent knee pain, knee problems, and they've gone in for exploratory surgery to find the root cause and potentially try and tidy up some of the issues, and found that the ACL is non-functional. So likelihood it's either torn or it's been elongated and stretched to a point where it's not providing the stability that's required. And the decision's been made to reconstruct, which puts him out for the best part of next year. But the best for long-term health, because if you've got an unstable ACL, potentially allowing for more movement around the joint, then that can potentially fast track early degeneration in the knee and short track your career. So I think the best thing for him, but not what you expect going in for a little clean out, I'd imagine.
No, not at all. Certainly a tough one there for Freo. Steve, as always, mate, appreciate your insight. Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Steve Gravina there with our latest injury update, thanks to Frontrunner Physiotherapy in Osborne Park. Well, it's been a busy show on the Footy Interchange, Scully. Thank you very much. Of course, everybody can get involved in the Q&A part of this, the Footy Interchange Exchange. Become a patron on Patreon and help us out, support the podcast.
BackChatPodcast.com.au. It just really helps us continue to make great content, bring shows like this one to you. So sign up there. We do get opportunities for our patrons to ask the first questions. And this week, I was a lot more organised because Adam Papalia is an elite preparer and he made me put it up earlier than I usually do. So if you do want to ask us questions, it's a nice little spin-off of this show, the Footy Interchange Exchange. You can be a patron, ask questions, and have all those answered. So you can just do that at backchatpodcast.com.au.
The People's Podcast, the Footy Interchange Exchange. And just finally, for those that might not be aware just yet, that the Fremantle-Brisbane game, if you're heading along to that on the weekend, has actually been pushed back 15 minutes.
Why?
So it'll be starting a little bit later.
Why?
Because the AFL has finally realised, Scully, that it is easier for people to make it to the footy in Perth if it's a slightly later start time.
So what was it and was it now?
It was a 6:20 start. And now it is a 6:35 start.
Nice.
So an extra 15 minutes for people to get there.
You could probably have a beer,
which is
you probably
great.
almost have 2 beers. In 15 minutes.
But also the other part to it is, Scotty, that it gives more separation between the Essendon and St Kilda game, which starts at 5:20 Perth time, 7:20 Eastern.
And a completely irrelevant contest.
It is, but if you want to watch the majority of that one before flicking over, you can do that.
Sure.
Which is what we want. So
go for your life.
Just spreading out those games on a Friday night makes a lot of sense when it's played in Perth. So just for anyone heading along, just a little bit of a heads up that the game starts a little bit later on.
Got to be a sellout, surely.
Hopefully.
Friday night footy against
Friday night footy.
Like finals, top 4, top 2 on the line. Whoa.
Massive game.
Big.
I'm sure we'll talk about that next week. Wait for the Footy Interchange Exchange to drop on Thursday as well. Thanks very much for tuning in.